Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shri Swami Narayan Bhagavan ki jai. Akshar Purushottam Maharaj ki jai. Radha Krishna Dev ki jai. सियावर रामचंद्र भगवान की जय. गुरु हरि प्रमुख स्वामी महाराज की जय. In the divine presence of Bhagavan Swami Narayan, in the equally divine presence of Guru Hari Pramukh Swami Maharaj, in the revered presence of sadhus, my very close friend, the director, Sri Ravichandran ji, the guests on the dais, the faculty of IIM Indore, and dear students. Before we begin our session on Journey to Excellence, I'd like to share with you my first experience with IIM. It was narrated to me by a Canadian. No ordinary man, this fellow. He happened to be the Solicitor General of Canada, Mr. Bob Kaplan. He was visiting us, our Swaminarayan festival in 1985 in Ahmedabad. But one day he came back roaring with laughter. And I asked him why. He said, "You've got mighty bright brains in India. I just met an IIM student." And I said, "What's so funny about it? You meet somebody intelligent, you don't laugh. So what's so funny about it?" And he said that this IIM student from Ahmedabad, he had asked him a question that what is the difference between an American school of business, a British school of business, and an Indian school of business. So he told him a story that there were three very close friends. One who had graduated from Harvard, another from London School of Economics, and third from IIM. They all decided to become padris. So even there are guys after IIM, our field is open, we're open every age, don't worry. And there's no cat. But he said all three of them decided to be padris, priests. After 25 years, they had a reunion because they were college graduates, so they had a reunion. And the British padri, he arrived in his tattered, run-down Austin Morris, as usual on time. The American padri, he drove in his large, comfortable saloon, carefree. While they were waiting for the Indian padri, as usual. While they were waiting for him, he arrived whistling in a Rolls Royce. All three of them started talking to each other, and then slowly they said, "Look, in our sermons, we've always been telling people to confess. It's about time we made a confession in how we've made our money." So the British said, "Look, after my sermons, I take out my hat, pass it around, people donate, and then I draw a small circle on the ground, the size I occupy on this earth. I throw all the money in the air. That which falls inside the circle I keep, the rest I donate for God." The Americans said, "Look, we're a big nation. We don't believe in small circles. We draw lines. Either you are with us or you are against us." So I collect my money in the hat, I throw it up in the air, and that which falls on this line is ours, and the rest I donate for God. So that's how I make a bit of more money. They both turned to the Indian Padri. I am glad. So I said, but roles, impossible. And the Indian Padri said, well, look, I always practice what I preach. He said, fine. After my sermons, in my sermons, I've already been telling that God is up there. Where is God? God is up there. So after my sermons, I collect the money in the hat. I don't draw circles, no lines. I throw it up. That which God wants, He keeps. The rest comes back. Then he had told Bob Kaplan, listen, then he had told Bob Kaplan, sir, at IIM, we can even turn religion into great business. But today, as I stand before you, I've come here to appreciate some deeper values that you cherish. Just a month back, when your director, Sri Ravichandranji, had called me, and he had requested that Swami, you come down and address our students at the IIM. If he remembers, I asked him, I said, sir, I'm a sadhu. I'm a spiritual person. Is there any space for spirituality at IIM? And the answer he gave me still rings in my ears. He said, Swami, in this age of Satyam, spirituality can no longer be a footnote, it has to be the foundation of life. I want my students to excel in life and not just in management. So I thank you, Mr. Director. I thank you for your vision. And I also thank you for reopening my vision. Because it is important that we all understand that excellence can be attained. But excellence cannot be sustained without spirituality. It's very important that we understand that whatever I'm going to talk about today is attaining excellence through inner values. Whether you believe it or not, it is only spirituality that can breathe in purity and integrity into excellence. It is only spirituality that can provide the necessary strength and stability to excellence. It's so easy to be happy for a day. Try being happy for life. It's so easy to smile and laugh for a minute. Try smiling and laughing for a day. It's so difficult. Some of the easiest things that you know become the most difficult things to do in life, if you don't have a proper perspective. So I have come here today to share some of my ideas on excellence through inner values. We must remember that without ethics, call them values, or call it spirituality. Without ethics, excellence could make the best of us the worst of us. Try and understand this idea. Without ethics, the best of us are the worst of us. The most classic example would be the terrorist attack on World Trade Center. If you effectively analyze it, it would be excellence in execution. Everything synchronized, time, planned. Imagine without an army, without a weapon, without any expense, using American planes, planned on American soil, burning American fuel, killing American citizens. They were able to achieve what 2 world wars could not do to America without even declaring a war. So technically, if you analyze it just from statistics and systems, it would be perhaps the greatest act of effective execution. But without ethics, what is supposed to be the best act of excellence has turned out to be a horror of humanity. Excellence alone could doom disaster. Keep that stacked away in your mind. But not only just excellence, even education. I want to take you back into history. Even education without ethics is disastrous. What Mr. Ravichandran Swami keeps on emphasizing. What I'm trying to highlight here, that during the Second World War, Hitler set up the most systematic concentration camp for extermination of 6 million Jews. I have personally studied the Second World War in volumes when I was back in school. Most systematic. You know how systematic? That they could be termed as the most efficient killing factories ever set up in the history of humanity. Even God could not do it better. I'm telling you the truth, if you study it in that way, trainloads of Jews willingly got into the train and they came into the concentration camps in schedule. The prisoners were separated from the possessions. The possessions were sorted out into clothes, money and gold, repacked for reuse. Even the hair was shaven and used in bombs. The bone and the teeth were used as supplement. But they were efficient. From the point of view of just simple statistics, excellent. But one survivor, he writes to the teachers, and this message goes out both to the students and the faculty who are present here. One survivor has written an amazing sentence. He says, "Dear teachers, listen to this carefully. I am a survivor of a concentration camp. My eyes saw what no man should witness. Gas chambers built by expert engineers. Children poisoned by educated physicians. Infants killed by trained nurses. Women and babies shot and burnt by high school and college graduates. So I am a little suspicious of education. My request is, help your students to become more human. Your efforts should never produce learned monsters, skilled psychopaths, educated Eichmanns. Reading, writing, arithmetic, and into bracket, management. I'm adding that. All these are important only if they serve to make us more human. So excellence should have the basis of humanity, our values and spirituality. Then you will get more in life than you have ever dreamed of. Pramukh Swami Maharaj, my guru, he often says that education without ethics destroys, and education with ethics protects. When you go out there into the world as one of the best managers, there will be hundreds of people working under you. There will be factories and corporations searching for you to pick you off. You will not have to beg with your qualification for a job. But don't be just satisfied with a job. Don't be satisfied with success. Don't be satisfied that you're good. Be good for something or someone. Being good alone is not enough. I'm good and great, but are you good for someone? Can you go out and help? Are you good for something? Have you done something for somebody else? That gives you the real joy of life. So even these two very important, shocking facts which are related to you will fail to open our eyes so far as the inner world is considered. Why? You know why we cannot see our inner world or inner values? The reason is so easy, so simple. Because we are so possessed and so preoccupied by the outer world, the world that we can see, the world of glitter and glamour, of awards and achievements, of power and position, that we fail to see the invisible inner world of values, beliefs, and ethics. Try this, a very simple example, but you have to be sincere. Something so easy to begin. Close your eyes. Trust me. I think everything begins by trust. Close your eyes. So easy to do, right? But if I say, keep them closed, so difficult to sustain. Somebody is at home, somebody in the sports field, somebody is with a friend, somebody is with their parents, Somebody is in front of the mirror. Somebody, but majority are trying to open your eyes back into the auditorium. Please open your eyes. Even when you close your eyes, the images that fill you is of the outer world. You're trying to see an inner world, but the images that keep coming to you is of the outer world. Why? Because I want to tell you that because we are so attached and so overpowered by the outer world, we tend to ignore the inner world and we cannot tolerate it. Close your eyes, so easy, but if I say keep them closed, so difficult. It's a very simple thing, but so difficult to do because of our own weaknesses or attachment. But you can still close your eyes and still try and find the inner values that you stand for. So the time has come to relook at the world we see, reassess our measurement of success, achievement, or excellence. And when we change the perspective, the same things become different. Perhaps this story of a poor man's rich boy might help. There was a very rich man, and he had a single son. The rich man obviously had a huge bungalow in 10 acres of farmhouse. He owned a 1-acre swimming pool, 9 acres of beautiful gardens, and a huge wall protect his entire property. So one morning he told his son, the only son, he said, "Son, today I want to show you how poor the poor are." When do you feel rich? If there was no poor, you wouldn't feel rich. So he said, "Son, today I want to show you how poor the poor are." I said, "Okay, Dad." They went out of their huge bungalow, gilded in gold. They crossed their 1 acre of swimming pool, across the 9 acres of garden, through the huge doors and the huge wall that protected their property. He took him to the shabbiest corner of the village. People were sleeping on the streets, but the moment they arrived, hundreds of people gathered to look at them with respect. And he showed him all the quarters of the poor, the poverty and everything, almost till sunset. When they were coming back, the father tapped his son on his shoulder and said, "Son, so now you know how poor the poor are." The son looked up at his dad. He said, "Dad, yes, I have understood." "What did you understand?" He said, "I saw that we have 1 dog and they had 10. I also saw that our swimming pool is spread out in 1 acre. They have a mighty river that crosses across the horizon. I saw that they grow their food and we have to buy our food. Dad, I saw that these people, when they go to sleep and when we go to sleep, we have our chandeliers to light our night. They have 1,000,000 stars to light their night. Dad, I also want to tell you that we have a huge wall protecting us. They have hundreds of friends protecting them. So thank you very much, Dad, for showing me how poor we really are." I want you to understand this, keep this filed away for future use. The issue here is not of rich or poor. The issue here is that of changing a perspective of life. The issue here is not of just simple a big man and a small man. The issue here is of knowing the way joy, contentment, fulfillment, and satisfaction is defined. If you can have the definition aligned in your mind, then all your educations, your successes will never hamper you. It will always turn out to make you into much better human beings. Because if you look at it very casually, sometimes the real things that give you joy or happiness, are free of charge. With all your wealth, you can go out and hire the best room for the night, the best hotel, 50,000 rupees per night. Okay? But the sleep you get is free of charge. The hoteliers can't guarantee sleep. Find me one hotel you would say $50,000 a night room with free sleep. You know, I think you would be sued every other night because the sleep you get is beyond money, is free of charge. Suppose your friend takes you out to the best restaurant and you buy a dish for 5,000 rupees, the best in town, prepared according to your taste, but the digestion you get is free of charge. Even the best of gastroenterologists are popping pills of antacids. Why? Because it's not in their control as well. So just as sleep is free, that gives you happiness for the rest of the day. Digestion is free, that gives you satisfaction of eating a meal. Suppose you throw the best party, because many of you will become rich. I won't use the word filthy rich. But many of you, let's pray, because I pray as a sadhu, you should become rich. And you throw the best, the wildest party, and hundreds of people will turn out because of your free, rich party. But the friends you have are free of charge. The guys who come for your money are not your real friends. The friends who come are coming free of charge. It's not because of your party. And suppose, one step further, you wriggle yourself into a high position. You become the director or chairman or something or something or something like that. But the respect you command is free of charge. Because of your position, people will listen to what you say, but they will not respect you. And write that down, that respect is not something that you can get. Respect is only something that you can give. If you tell somebody that, give me respect, no. Only if he chooses to give you that respect, he can. Respect, get out of this idea of getting respect. You can never get respect if that guy chooses, even your children. If your children decide to give you respect, they'll give it to you. Just because you are by father, by default, you don't get respect. Where most of the parents, go off fire. They kept thinking that because I'm his father, he should respect me. And I always tell them, no. If he chooses to respect you, he will give you respect. You can't force that. So sometimes the things that really make you happy or make you feel successful are all free of charge. And this can only be understood because it is a part of the inner world. So premise number one, before we enter this inner world and inner values, we must accept that this inner world exists. We don't really bother. Who cares? I get my money, I get my respect, I this. What is the question of improving myself from inside? You don't get marks. And nobody really realizes if I'm unhappy. Oh, don't fool yourselves. Everybody realizes if you're unhappy. You can't hide that. Just as you can't hide an itch. If you get an itch, then you can't hide it. You can't hide a yawn. You go like this and everything. You can't hide a yawn. You can't hide dosing. Many of you will start doing that. Doesn't matter, but I'll accept it. But you can't hide dosing. You can't hide love. If somebody or something you love, you can't resist. Similarly, you won't be able to hide unhappiness. You'll try to be able to mask it, but you can't mask. So it's very important that we understand that when we understand our inner side, we'll be able to make ourselves much better, much brighter, and much stronger to face the world. So first, accept that there is an inner world. How? You'll say, Swami, it's invisible. I can't see love, joy, the values. I can't see tolerance, faith, truth. It doesn't come out. It's nothing physical. I can't measure it. Nothing tangible. I can't equate it. When you do your market research, when you do studies, when you start analyzing a sick unit, or you try how to make things healthier, and so many jargons that you will master. Please, help them master the jargons, but take them beyond it as well. Don't get stuck to them. So when you start doing all these systems as you learn in this I am, also try and understand that there are things that which you can't see are sometimes more important. Many times in life, the invisible things are more important than things visible. You can see a building, but you can't see the foundations that keep it strong and erect. We can see food and water, but we can't see the air that gives us life. We can see the beautiful planets, everything spinning in the universe, but we can't see gravity that keeps them in place. Similarly, we can see the entire creation, but we can't see the creator that made it happen. But even in science, this is not just spirituality, even in science, science is based on concepts which are invisible. Who has seen 0 degrees Kelvin? Even Lord Kelvin has not seen it. Did Faraday, who discovered electricity, has he seen an electrical current flowing? He has felt it, but not seen it. Newton could not physically see gravity. He discovered it. Even science is based on concepts which are invisible, but their sheer faith on those invisible concepts has brought change to the things that we see. Put faith in it. Go a step further. Buildings stand erect. Bridges are stable. Aeroplanes fly. Why, I ask you? Because of, you will tell me, aeronautical engineers, civil engineers, structural engineers. But why? Because of their calculations. What is calculations? Mathematics. What is mathematics? Numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I ask you, who has seen 1? Who has touched 2? Who has heard 3? Who has felt 4? If I put 3 chairs on this dais and I said, how many chairs? You say 3 chairs. If I take away the chairs, 3 should remain, right? The logic would tell us, if I take away the chairs, where is the 3? All these mathematical numbers are invisible concepts, divisions, multiplications, square roots, everything is a mental concept. But because of these invisible concepts, the buildings stand, the bridges remain stable, and aeroplanes fly. So your trust in these invisible concepts give you changes in the outer world. Then have faith in the world of values, in the world of ethics, in the world of emotions, and also in the world of spirituality. Those invisible concepts will help you shape the life that you're going to live in the future. So your inner world is always more important than your outer world. So second premise I want to emphasize first is accept this inner world that has more power to drive your life, to shape your emotions, and drive humanity than anything you can do in the outer world. Why? Those people who have attained success or excellence and who have ignored this inner world, ultimately they have suffered. Ultimately. I'm not here to tell you that, okay, if you are not spiritual, you don't believe in God, you don't do anything, I can't tell you that you will not succeed. You may succeed in the way that the world sees, but you will not enjoy success. You will not get that peace and that happiness which you want to get. So, those people who have ignored it have suffered. One classic example we should also keep in mind is this was in 1923 in Chicago. 9 of the world's wealthiest men had gathered. That was at the Edgewater Beach Hotel in Chicago. I'll just read out one by one the qualification of those people. These 9 of the world's most successful financiers controlled more money than the entire US Treasury. Start thinking, okay? More money the entire US Treasury. They had given loans to 21 countries. Bailed out countries, not just a corporation or a bank, countries in 1923, okay? Number 1, Charles Schwab. He was the president of the largest independent steel company. Number 2, the name of the other guy was Samuel Insull. He was a Scottish man, president of the largest utility company, General Electric. Number 3, Howard Hobson, president of the largest gas company. Number 4, Arthur Cutten, the greatest wheat speculator. Number 5, Richard Whitney, president of the New York Stock Exchange. Number 6, Albert Fall, the leading member of the Cabinet of the United States of Herbert Hoover. Number 7, Jesse Livermore, the greatest bear on the Wall Street. Number 8, Ivor Kruger. He was the greatest owner of the biggest monopoly of the world. He owned 75% of the matchstick industries of the world. Okay, the Swedish Match King. And number 9, Leon Fraser, President of the Bank of International Settlement. These 9 people gathered to chart out the measures of future. But after 25 years, of these 9 men, 1 had become bankrupt, 4 were in prison, 3 had committed suicide, and 1 was still living in a mental asylum. If you have time, and if you have time, I can provide you all the important details. But what went wrong? They were the greatest successful people in those times. One simple definition, I'm not going to talk about everyone, one, just take Ivor Kruger. He finished his graduation 3 years in advance. He was a graduate in 2 fields of engineering. He started his construction company and took over his dad's matchstick company. Slowly, his wealth grew at that time to be $32 billion. He alone, an individual, bailed out Germany and France, one of the most leading industrial countries, giving them loans of $250 million and $150 million. Who? Ivor Kruger. He ended up shooting himself in France, with the country which called him the savior of the nation. He had been given the award. But for fraud, embezzlement, so many things that he could not. But his childhood friends keep telling the world now that anybody who had studied with Ivor Kruger would easily have known that he was the sneak. See, the inner values are not hidden. मैं ये बताना चाहता हूँ कि you had try and mask everything, but if you are a cheat, it will show up in the cricket field. If you are a fighter and hate somebody, it will show up when you are eating. If you are not a team player, when you form a team, you will be the guy who will be throwing in the spanner. Stop the entire conveyor belt. So all these things, they catch up on you if you really don't focus and get rid of them. Small things really, doom disaster. They say Ivor Kruger, when he was a little child studying in our class, he was the first guy who stole the questions for an exam from the headmaster's office, and he sold each question for a large sum of money. So I think he's more advanced. Right at that age, they also say that when Kruger was not ready for one exam, he banged into the teacher who was supposed to take his exams and faked he had a hand injury. And the teacher said, "Oh, I'm sorry that I hurt you." He said, "Sir said don't give an exam." So don't do that here as well. Don't pick out your own faculty. Alright? So then they also say that this fellow, once he became better and stronger, and he had become almost, the match king of Europe. On his first trip to America, how manipulative he got? The ship he was traveling in for 7 days, he hired out the entire telegraph and wireless system. He wasn't passing a single message. But there were messages all over the world that the entire wireless system across the Atlantic had been hired out by Ivor Kruger. Such a busy man. He wasn't doing anything. So the messages went when the ship landed, and hundreds of reporters were there. His first step into the American soil. Okay? And he deliberately did it. He knew that he was considered the match king of Europe. So when the reporter started asking him that, Mr. Kruger, why have you come here to America? He took a cigar. And deliberately he started searching for a matchbox. He had one, but he got his hand out and said, "Oh, I've forgotten my matchbox at home." The headlines were, "The Match King without a matchbox." It brought him more awareness than anything that he could do. But all these manipulative ideas ultimately spelled doom for him. Managers have the biggest risk. Engineers work through technology. Managers work through marketing and manipulation. For God's sake. put in ethics. You need more ethics in your field than any other field to town. You will be having access to human minds. You will be able to shape opinions. You will be able to draw psychological responses. Don't, as so many of grads, they tell us that when we have to do a survey and research, and if you have not done everything in time, we decide the conclusion, then replot all our market surveys to fit this 61%. So don't do reverse engineering. Be honest. If you are honest, then you will have greater share of your own happiness. So I'm trying to emphasize that even in business, if you don't have ethics, it is soon going to catch you up. You can't escape. You won't be able to escape. Life will soon catch up, and then you will start suffering or regretting what has happened before. But not only in this, even in spiritual field, I must be honest to you. That I'm not just giving up advice and updesh to you. Even in spiritual field, if I'm doing sadhana and I'm not honest to myself, then I'm going to suffer as well. Being honest and having high integrity is an essential part of any field. Brahmavihari Swami gives a very classic example of a Shiv Bhakta. He went out to do penance, the tap. And he did excellent tap on one foot, and he did on headstand, and for about 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. And Shiva is considered in our scriptures that he is the easiest God to please and the easiest to displease. You've got both, Something, great success have great risks. Okay? So he was pleasing Shiva, and Shiva became happy. And when Lord Shiva appeared before him, see, he was successful in the spiritual way. But if you don't have ethics, even as a spiritual person, you suffer at the end. So Lord Shiva came up and said, "Oh, I'm so happy on you." He said, "Yes, Shiva." He said, "Then ask whatever you want to ask." He said, "But Shiva, let me think." He said, No, I'll give you 3 wishes. All 3 wishes that you ask shall be yours. He said, "Okay, let me go home and consult my wife, because when you have to make a wish, don't do it on your own. Because it will also be more disastrous than even ethics. You go down and consult your wife, and do it, in a very, be a team member." So he went down to his wife and said, "Look, I'm going down into the bazaar to find out the 3 things that we need." But what? Shiva had told him that whatever you ask shall be given from my accord. But I'm so happy that whatever you ask, your neighbor shall get the double. Samajh gaye? So he hadn't told his wife this. He said, "I have to really think that I must ask something. My neighbor's going to get 2 times the more." So he went down, and before he could come back, the wife, she was always, restless, and she started asking, impatient. She said, "Oh Shiva, if you are happy, we are living in a very rundown house, give us a very huge bungalow." A huge bungalow appeared, but the neighbor had 2 huge bungalows. She asked that, "Give us a very good car." A big good car appeared, but the neighbor had 2. And when the man came, he said, "Oh my God, where's my house? 1 house, 2 houses." He knew my wife, she had exploited this boon. She came down and he got hold of his wife and said, "Oh Shiva, my wife, she wasn't thinking. I still have my own 3 wishes to do." Shiva said, "I know, but your wife, my wife, she wasn't thinking, please give my wish back." Shiva said, "Okay, fine. The same wish is for you." You know what he asked for? "Oh Shiva, if you are really happy, let me lose one of my arms." So what happened to the neighbor? Lost both. He said, "Oh Shiva, if you are really happy, let me lose one of my legs." What happened to the neighbor? Lost both. He said, "Oh Shiva, if you are so happy on me, let me lose one of my eyes." At the end of the penance, because he wasn't honest or pure in his heart, even his penance made him lose 1 arm, 1 leg, and 1 eye. So it's not just limited to the business world, it applies to the spiritual world as well. If you are not focused on the ethics or the values of the inner world, you are going to suffer ultimately whatever field you take up. Whether you're a sadhu, whether you're a businessman, whether you're a king, or whether you're a beggar. It just affects everyone. And not only that, as you move ahead in life, the life that is created around you will start dictating what you do. And if you don't have time for yourself inside, you slowly get into a situation which is helpless. Once in Manchester, one man, he came to a psychologist and he told the doctor that, "Doctor, I constantly feel suicidal." The doctor said, "Why should you be suicidal? There's nothing so hard in your life." He said, "Doctor, you won't understand what I really feel, but I feel suicidal, and maybe twice or thrice in a day I get these thoughts of suicide." The latest research says that an average man would get thoughts of suicide 2.3 times in his lifetime. So if you get them, you're average. Don't do them. Because then the man doesn't. So normally they pass. You feel, "Oh God, why should I? It's better to have a life, which is better to have no life at all, something like that." So this man, he kept up to the doctor and said, "Doc, I feel so suicidal. Maybe 2-3 times in a day I feel so bad, morose, depressed. I just can't think of doing anything else." The doctor said, "Look, I can't find anything wrong with you, but there's a medicine I want to give you." He said, "What?" "That there's a Russian circus in town. This is in Manchester." So you're fine. He said, "I give you a dose that twice a day you go down into that Russian circus and you laugh your head off." He said, "But doc, what will I do there?" He said, "There's a clown there. His name is Gromolin. You go down and watch him. I go and watch him so often and I laugh so much because, that will bring your spirit back." And he said, "Doc, I have a problem." He said, "What?" "I am that clown, Gromolin." See, sometimes you have public success, but private failures. It's a shocking time. The doctor who wrote, Dr. John Gray, "Men are from Mars and Women are from Venus," he has done amazing work in bringing down separated families which were on the verge of divorce. And he could bring them back because of his talks and his ideas. But sorry enough to say that later he had to file for divorce. It's not something to be happy of. I'm saying that sometimes our lifestyles will give us public success, but don't fall into the trap of having private failures. That is the reason why our Shastras, the Hindu scriptures, have been constantly echoing. The Upanishads have been saying that know yourself. They say that ekena vignatena sarvam vignatam bhavati. By knowing your own self, it is as good as knowing the entire world. Until you master your own self, you won't be able to master your emotions and master the world around you. Chinmayananda Swami used to give a very classic example of a father who had a son who was very mischievous. And the father, just to occupy the son, he tore out a map of the world from a magazine, cut it into 100 pieces, and then gave it to the son and said, "You piece the world map together." And he knew that the son did not know the real map of the world. It will be very difficult. It will put him, to work for maybe 2-3 hours. Within 10 minutes, the boy had come, he had stitched up the entire world map and said, "Dad, it's finished." The dad said, "Oh my God, how did you do it?" He said, "Dad, it was so easy. When I turned the map around, there was a picture of a man. So all I did was to put the picture of the man together, the world came together on its own." Put yourself in order. Take care of your inner world. Create a microclimate. You can decide the climate you create for yourself and the people around you. Nobody else can. And you will be happy in any condition. So as you move ahead, even Bhagavan Swaminarayan says that he who sees the world around him, beautiful things, ugly things, nice, bad, everything with his eyes, hears everything, and he forgets to see himself and his inner world, he is the greatest of fools. Though you may have a degree, though you may have money, you will not feel comfortable with yourself. So now the third idea. First, those who have ignored ethics have ultimately suffered. First, there is an invisible inner world. Accept it because it controls you. Third, those who have mastered the inner world have gained more in life than you and me can dream of. Our concept of excellence would be what? World CEO? Some corporation? Taking a new idea and changing the idea of the world? These are all ideas of great excellence which people get awards for, correct? Here was Buddha. He already was a king. He was loved and respected. He was handsome. He didn't need all the makeups and all these, special features. He had a following by default. Buddha gave up everything that we see as excellence today. He moved away into the inner world, into the world of meditation and silence. You know something? He has become much bigger than all the emperors put together. He still continues to influence the minds of people. He gave up a throne, and the hearts of billions and billions of individuals on this earth have given him a throne in their heart. There is a world, I'm not talking about fiction, I'm not talking about cultures that are far away from us. It is in the backyard of our own culture. I'm not saying that you do this. Because you will all tell me, Swami, wait a minute, I've worked so hard for this IIM course. I can never be a Buddha. I'm not asking you to give up IIM, just walk away into the forest, because I know you can't see the inner world. So you'll walk back and you'll be nowhere. So either be somewhere, don't come this side, and don't either be somewhere, be very firm wherever you are, and always feel that whatever you're doing is the best. If somebody asks you, you say to be the manager is the best. And if somebody asks me, I have to say to be the sadhu is the best. If you as a manager keep thinking sadhu's life is the best, then you are suffering. And if I keep thinking and I am great is the best, then I am suffering. So be the best wherever you are, that's important. Work the hardest. But you will tell me, Swami, I can't be Buddha. Because I can't change the world. But wait a minute. Okay, you can't change the world. But what stops you from changing yourself? Come on. Answer me. You can question me that I can't change the world, but what stops you from changing yourself? If you can't answer, then start doing it. Nothing stops you. Yes, it's true that all of us can't be Buddha. All of us can't be Lord Krishna. All of us can't be Lord Swaminarayan. All of us can't be Lord Rama. We can't be Vivekananda. Fine, it's true. But what stops us from following their wisdom? Nothing can stop us from following their wisdom. When Buddha was asked that give us one word that could save mankind, Buddha said compassion. When Confucius was asked that give us one word that can save mankind, Confucius said cooperation. When Lord Swaminarayan has been repeatedly asked what is one idea that can save mankind, he said bhakti, love. When Lord Rama has been asked that what is one thing that can save humanity, he said righteousness. When Krishna has been again and again asked by Arjuna that what is one idea that can save, and Krishna said faith. He said faith. Faith in him. So then you'll ask me as intelligent people, the Swami, wait a minute, is spirituality so many different things? Should I believe? Should I be compassionate? Should I be corporate? Should I have loving nature? Should I have faith? So many things. My answer is yes. Because love is one word, but you can express love in a myriad ways. Love is not just hugging and holding hands. Love is waiting for somebody. Love is worrying about somebody. Love is caring. Love is sacrificing a part of yourself for someone. Love is writing. Love is phoning. Nowadays, love is also SMSing. They brought it down so materially. You didn't SMS me back and the loving relations break up just because of lack of SMS. He didn't know that the network was out. Because something that you couldn't control could break a relation that you could control. So it's such a very funny situation. But if love can be so many things, so can spirituality be so many things that give the inner values of life. So as we understand that when we focus on these inner values, your perspective changes. In Mahabharata, when Arjun, the mightiest warrior that Krishna had, he asked Krishna that take me into the middle of the battle, and when Krishna showed him the whole battle lineup, this will happen to you when you move out into the world. You know, whenever you are here, everything will be within syllabus. There are so many students, sir, I must bring it to your awareness, they keep coming to us, I failed this exam because the questions were asked out of syllabus. As if the syllabus is your, guiding light. But I want to also tell you that when you move out in the world, everything will be out of syllabus. In the syllabus, your entire life will be out of syllabus. Imagine you have to perform in a situation which is totally out of syllabus. That's the mastery you will have if you control over your inner values. You perform at anywhere. So coming back to the entire situation, when Krishna was guiding Arjun, suddenly Arjun became scared, if you know the story. Arjun, he was fully lined up, armored with his bow and arrow. Arjun wasn't an ordinary fighter. He was the best amongst best. Savya Sachin. You know what Savya Sachin stands for? In the time that Arjun wanted to marry Draupadi, the test was they had a Libra. Okay? And Arjun had to climb up the Libra, the scales, at the same go. Now imagine, intelligent man would think that if you put one foot on one scale, how will you put the other? So only if you can jump and land with the same feet at the same time, you are skilled enough. So Arjun was a gymnast. He had to be. Okay? Second thing, he could balance. He had to look down at the reflection and the fish, the target was moving. Even if, Mr. Bindra, who won the Gold Olympics, if you had a moving target, I don't think it would have been easy. Here, everything is silent, and you have this fully geared up, and nothing, years of practice. For Arjun, there was no practice. First go, one, and there was nothing like, in a cricket, a trial ball, but give me one trial bow, and then I'll take, nothing like that. Arjun still was so focused. Savya Sachin means Arjun asked, shall I pierce it with my right hand or my left? समझ गए? Savya Sachin meaning ambidextrous. That Arjun, who's the best of the warriors, he is there, and then he tells Krishna, the Siddhanti mama gatrani mukham cha parishusyati Roma harshascha jayate brahmati vacha me mana. Oh Krishna, my hands are trembling, my mouth is dry, my mind is spinning, my head is standing on its end. I can't even hold my bow and arrow. He collapses. I want to tell you, what did Krishna do? Krishna did not
give him bottle.
I think that's plastic one. Yes. Plastic fine. Yeah. So I'm just rounding this off. Krishna did not do what a modern physiotherapist would do. He said, okay, if your hands are trembling, I'll just massage them. No. If your mouth is dry, take a glass of water. It's incidental. So he didn't give him a glass of water or any glucose. No. He didn't say just lie down, take deep breaths and do yoga. No. What Krishna did is what you will have to do. You shouldn't go out into the world like Arjun. You should go out into the world like Krishna. And I am glad should not just have control over his own emotions. He should be able to fine-tune the emotions of others. Don't put yourself into the role of Arjun, say, oh, I'm poor Arjun. No, become the great Krishna. What Krishna did to the fallen, the broken, the totally lost Arjun, he didn't give him pity. The second sloka in the Gita, it says, Klebhyam smargamaha partha neitvetat upapadyate Shudra radaya durbyalam tyaktva tista parantapa. He said, fool, get up. It's the middle of a war. He said, fool, get up. Get rid of your internal cowardice. Draw the strength that you have inside you. Get up, because as a warrior, it is your internal duty to fight and die at war. We constantly search for pity and sympathy. Get out of that mode. What does it prove to tell people that you're the most miserable? Take it in stride. Come over it. Move ahead. All that Krishna did to Arjuna was change the attitude of his mind. Gave him a focus or journey or access to his inner energy. And the same bow and arrow, the same armor, Arjuna got up and the war was won. The war wasn't won on strategies, because Kauravas were better strategists. The war wasn't won on greater numbers. Pandava were less. The war wasn't won on planning. Pandavas never planned. Because once Bhishma, he took a pratigna. And Bhishma said, tomorrow morning, if I go to war, I take a pledge that either I or Arjuna will not be there. I will kill Arjuna. Everybody was scared and nobody could face Bhishma. He was the father, the best. Krishna became scared himself that what will Arjuna be thinking? So he started searching for Arjuna. And then Krishna found, to his shock and surprise, that Arjuna was asleep. When the entire Pandava camp was worrying, the Kauravas were celebrating, everybody was worried. First time in the war that Krishna was worried, because Bhishma had taken a pledge that Arjuna will be no more. And he found Arjuna sleeping. Krishna was, hey, he said, he turned around. Krishna shook him awake. He said, you know something? He said, yeah. He said, you know that Bhishma has taken a pledge? Okay, yeah. He said, you know what that pledge is? He said, yes, that, I will be no more by tomorrow. He said, why are you sleeping? Arjuna said, because you are awake. What faith can do in the times of your darkness, nothing will do. You will not read it anywhere. Just believe me. What faith can do, none of these books, none of the syllabus, none of the things I've told you will work. What faith and little gestures of love and respect can do. You won't really believe it, but you'll experience. You'll come down in your life, and that's when you will feel that the strength of your inner values will bring such power that you'll never be able to deny them. So, as we go into the inner world, I'm not asking you to totally change yourself. Our leader, Brahmavihari Swami, often says that you may have drawbacks, weaknesses. Yes, you will, all of us do. But if you keep focusing on your negative things, they're not going to disappear like that. He says, start filling yourself with positive things. The negatives will disappear by default. Okay? Fill yourself with positive things. The negative will disappear by default. How? You don't have to get rid of darkness. You can't. Turn on the light, darkness will disappear on its own. So don't worry about jealousy, hatred. Worry about it, but don't get possessed by them. Jealousy, hatred, this. Start being positive. Start being loving. Start being sharing. If you become positive, the negatives will disappear naturally. I don't have to tell you that don't frown. If I just tell you smile, frowns disappear naturally. You can't have a smiling frown. I don't know if you can master it, that's amazing. But you can't have a smiling frown. But if you smile, I don't have to tell you don't frown. So simple, the negatives can only be displaced if I take a glass of water. If I have to empty this glass of water, what do I do? Tip it. Now the glass is filled with air. How do I tip the glass from without? How do I empty the air? Yes, perfect. You fill it back with water. Only through displacement air can be displaced. Similarly, negatives can only be displaced by creating a positive environment. And that's why Brahmavihari Swami often says, do as much good as you can to as many people as you can, as long as you ever can. He often says, in the good of others lies our own. In the joy of others lies our own. It is this idea that forms the bedrock of our organization that does 160 humanitarian activities. Everything. I've not come here to preach, but I've come here to instill an idea. When President Kalam, who is so close to Pramukh Swami, if you read his book Ignited Minds, he has donated or specially placed 8 pages to the writing of his meeting with Pramukh Swami. He said that when I went to Pramukh Swami with an idea of charting a map for Vision 2020, 5 fields, whether it's a field of critical energy, education, health, okay? So 5 fields of development of the nation, Pramukh Swami naturally asked that what about faith and spirituality? If man will lose faith and spirituality, all your 5 fields will crumble. This provides the energy and the vision and the guidance. So Kalam, he often says, quoting Pramukh Swami, and that's why I'm quoting him. I must have met him maybe 10 to 15 times. He's so close to sadhus. He's not what he teaches, what he does leaves you with greater impression. Once we were in a hall like this, full of sadhus. President Kalam walked in to meet us. It was a much smaller place. And there was no chair. He came down and sat on the floor. The moment he sat on the floor, all the sadhus stood up. You can receive respect. You can't force it. I can't forget that from my heart. President coming in and sitting down on the floor. It does more for him and the world than all his books can ever do. So humble. Humility goes much higher than all your degrees and everything that will go. This was his nature. So once when we were walking with Kalam, this is very interesting, you can give out to your students if you teach the other people who come in, that we asked him, sadhus, imagine sadhus asking a scientist the secrets of life now. It's not a monopoly, don't be mistaken because we wear orange clothes that we wear, which is a monopoly. Some of you may be much spiritually more enlightened than even us. So it is a symbiotic process, we move towards goals in a natural way. Okay, so we asked him, Kalam Sahib, how come you are always energetic and so helpful and so lively and so happy at this age? And he said, Swami, I have learnt it from your guru and you have missed it. I said, what is that? He said, I have learnt that wherever I go, I only ask one question secretly in my mind, what can I give? So when I go and meet the children, I said, what can I give to them to make them happy? When I go and meet the scientists, I feel, what can I give to them that can make them happy? Not what can I get. We enter into a hall and say, where's the best seat? What can I get? We go into the food room and say, what can I get? We have always been taught go-getters. I'm asking you to go and become go-givers. If you go out and give in a small way to the surrounding that you enter, you will definitely leave with a greater impression, greater satisfaction. So Kalam said, he not only just said that, we walked out of the hall. And there was a huge crowd of, media people, newspaper people, and very difficult to control them. Okay? But he had his way. We were there and they were surrounded by hundreds of media people with cameras and this, and little pens and notebooks, hustling and pushing. And I don't think any leader has any guts to mess around with the media people. Okay? So we were there. And they kept asking me, Dr. Kalam, at that time there was an issue of, nuclear, this treaty, whether India should sign it or not, and the plutonium and this, the riders that were going in, something like that. So everything was in the media. I said, but sir, what is your idea? What is your thing? Kalam said, wait a minute. He said, I have come to offer you a free partnership. And I think the media men love anything free. Okay, so he said, I've come here to offer you a free partnership. He said, everybody said, what is that partnership? He said, first put your pens down. Like students, he said, put your pens down, put your cameras down. All the media people obeyed. He said, I am offering you a free partnership for life in rebuilding our nation. They were stunned. He said, do me one thing. Whenever somebody picks up your paper, bring a smile to our nation. Print such photographs. Print such media news that brings a smile to our nation. So that is the corporation we have set up. Bring a smile to our nation. You are free partners. Thank you. And he left. They couldn't take a photograph. They were all writing things down. But he genuinely believed that you have to give up things. When you reach the top, go beyond by giving it up. So on the last day, I had met him maybe 11 times at the Rashtrapati Bhavan. And on the last day, just 2 days later, he was going to give it up. He said, Swami, I said, what? He said, let me show you the Rashtrapati Bhavan. He had never shown me before. I said, okay. He said, I want to show you what I'm going to leave. We would show it when we get. Happy to leave. We are always happy to get. If you understand these perspectives of life, wherever you are, positions or in a smaller position, you'll always be happy to give. Swami has always encouraged this. Even our great leaders are encouraging this, and you can contribute to any level. 2 small stories, and we'll conclude this entire passage. You can give at any level. You don't have to be as big as that. One story that touches me deeply, because even after giving up the world, I still love football. It's a confession that I'm making before you. So, this small story, maybe many of you might even know, that there was a man, he was an ice hockey player from Canada. His name is Bob Munro. He had volunteered with the United Nations to work in Africa. He was on his way from his office of United Nations. He was passing through Mathare slums. Go to the internet, try and find out what Mathare slums are. They are perhaps the poorest slums of the world and the filthiest place. More than 250,000 people living in those slums. While he was passing, he saw 150 African kids playing barefoot football in the most filthiest area, filled with tins, garbage, all rubbish, and they were playing football. He couldn't see a football, he could just feet kicking each other. This man lowered his window, and because he was a footballer, an ice hockey player, he shouted from his car because he saw another kid kicking somebody and he fell down. He said, foul. The moment he said foul, all the little kids crowded his car and they kept saying Muzungu, Muzungu. If you know Swahili, Muzungu means a white man. Muzungu. And then he got out of the car. And he explained, he took the garbage ball, he said, you don't play football like that. The kid said, this is the only ball we have. He said, no, tomorrow, he wanted to get out of the situation. He didn't want to help. He said, tomorrow I'll come down with a gift of a football. So next day when he came down with a football, real football, there were 600 boys to play one football game. 600 kids playing. Bob Munro, this is in 1987. He said, okay, only those guys who clean up this place will be able to play. He started a self-help project. Those who want to play in my football have to clean up the place. Slowly, out of love for football, the slum kids started cleaning up the slums. Slowly and slowly, football teams were made. He got other volunteers to referee, to bring in the rules. I want to tell you, in 4 years, by 1991, all 11 players of Kenyan football team were from Mathare football team. Go out and check. Not only that, it didn't stop there. This day, there are 1,000 football teams in Mathare slum valleys, accommodating 14,000 players. They have a league, but the system is different. Bob Munro is still the chairman. The system is different. You know what the system is? That every player in Mathare football team has to contribute 60 hours of community service per month. Are you ready, my friends? 60 hours of community service, then you can play football. The rules are slightly different. That you get league points, not just for winning a game, you get league points for completing a project. Meaning cleaning, counseling on AIDS, giving food. He has created a team of 8,000 youngsters who are social service people just for the sake of football. The team became so famous it won European Cup 3 times. Pele called them to Brazil to play with the Brazilian football team, Mathare football team. The rules there are even slightly more different. When there's an argument on a football field, only the captain speaks, the rest of the team should be 10 yards away. If the supporters are wild, even after winning, the team loses. So the players are responsible for the behavior of the supporters. Totally different rules. And the only awards in this Mathare football team, if you win the League Cup, you get 100 scholarships and you have to donate those money for the study of 100 different kids. No trophies. For the last 20 years, it has been going on. And today, this is the first, he has started the first girls' league football team at Bob Monroe, all because he could not tolerate a foul with a garbage football. He decided, what could I give to make these kids happy? And he changed the environment. And Mathare Slum Valley has won 2 environmental awards for keeping the environment clean. You don't have to create big miracles. All these kids who are there are not graduates, but they have the will. I am saying, think of ideas that could help and benefit society around you. And if you can do that, you will be doing the work of God. You will be doing our work, and we will be happy. So as we move ahead, give something. If you can't give, at least forgive. I don't ask you to give every time. If you can't give, forgive. We keep our hatred so strongly inside our hearts that the guys we hate don't even know, they don't suffer, we suffer more than them. There was a Jew, he got a lesion on his heart, a cancer lesion on his heart. The doctor said this is impossible to get a cancer lesion on his heart. The cardiac muscle is so efficient, you don't get cancer. He got it, and they kept asking him, what's the problem? He said, I was in the concentration camp and I cannot forgive. He said, what do you mean you cannot forgive? I cannot forgive Hitler and the SS men, the suffering. He said, but they've gone and died long time ago. He said, no, but I cannot forgive. And he died. The doctor wrote, what Hitler and the concentration camps couldn't do to him, he did to himself. For God's sake, take up the phone and ask for forgiveness. We always tend to think that, but he should say sorry first. Arey bhai, if he doesn't say sorry, he will hurt. You don't say that everybody else doesn't do their walking or don't go up to the gym, I don't go as well. Forgiving is your own personal gymnasium. Start forgiving. And when you forgive, you will have so much. So even today, if somebody has hurt you, even if it's wrong, again, I'm just diverging, but I think it's important. I just want to tell you something which is going to be important for your life. Again, this idea of justice. I'm not against justice. But this idea of justice is an intellectual system that has come onto us. There is sometimes more important things than even justice. One man, he went to the doctor and said, my knee hurts, right knee. Keep this very close to your heart, this incident. He says, my right knee hurts. And the doctor looked at him, he said, but there's nothing wrong with your right knee. He said, but doc, it keeps hurting me. It's hurting me since last 2 years and it's getting worse and worse. The doctor says, is there any hurt in your life? He said, doc, check my knee, not my mind. He said, no, but is there anything that's hurt you? Yes, yeah, my brother, he has taken $5,000 from me and he has not repaid. And he keeps, whenever I ask him, something, he keeps shouting and he doesn't repay. It hurts me a lot. The doctor said, you go down to your brother and ask for forgiveness. This guy got out and he said, I think the doctor needs to be admitted, not me. He said, actually, he should have said that I should forgive him. The doctor said, you go and ask for forgiveness from your brother. He said, I don't want to do anything. Then after 2 weeks, both of his knees started hurting. Because he already had a grudge against his brother and one more against the doctor. So he came down to the doctor and said, and incidentally, he was the only doctor in town. So he came down to the doctor limping, The doctor said, what's your problem? He said, my other knee has started hurting me. The doctor said, there's only one thing you have to do is to go down to your brother and say, forgive me. He said, but doc, you can't understand. He has taken my money. Alright? He should be asking forgiveness from me and you are forcing me to forgive him? Doctor said, but he hasn't come with any disease on his feet. You have. He hasn't come with any disease. He's fine and healthy. But you have. He said, but doctor, he said, but that's not fair. That's not justice. Doctor said, I didn't tell you I was a judge. I'm a doctor. I couldn't care less about fairness or justice. I can only care about curing. It may not be fair. It may not be justice. But if it cures you, it's okay, I'll have a try. He went down to his brother's home, knocked on his door. The brother was scared. He said, oh my God, he's come. He'll probably hit me or fight and everything. He said, oh, what do you want? He said, he wanted to make it very short. When something you don't want to do, you do it very short. People understand you're sorry, you say, I'm sorry, and you move ahead. They know you're not sorry. You can't hide that. So, when he knocked on his brother's door and the brother opened the door, he said, I'm very sorry, there's a mistake. Somebody else had taken my $5,000 and I keep blaming you. I'm very sorry. He was about to leave. The brother said, no, wait a minute. Actually, I did take it. But I'm sorry I couldn't give it back. I can give you 1,000 now, but I can't give you the 5,000. Alright? Then that man straight away walked to the doctor and said, Doc, my feet are better. So why? The doctor said, you were hurting here. The medicine that was necessary was here. So sometimes in life, not everything that you analyze are the solution. They may be totally different, beyond solution. Sometimes fairness is not the solution. Forgetting it is the solution for your own peace. So you have to move ahead in life in this way. When Akshardham was attacked, somebody just told me, I think one of your professors told me that just 2 weeks after Akshardham, before Akshardham was attacked, I was there whole night. One of our sadhus died. 33 people were killed. Akshardham, Gandhinagar, where nobody will spits a pan. It's clean, spick and span. Akshardham, Delhi, so clean. When Meghavati had come, the leader of Southeast Asia, she had come, she kept her socks as memory that she spent 5 hours walking and not a single stain on her socks. So clean. It was filled with blood. 2 terrorists, almost maybe just 16, 17-year-old kids. We saw them with our eyes, killing. It was horrific and nightmarish. We could never imagine. It was not in our syllabus. We could never dream that Akshardham could be. We have not hurt anybody. We are mild. Swami Shri is very calm. But when the whole world started phoning in, supporting, Pramukh Swami said one thing. He said, our only response should be to forgive and peace. 2 terrorists do not have the power to change a course of a culture that is 10,000 years old. We can't react for revenge. Yes, that means we are not asking our armies to forgive. The role of the army is to fight, yes. The role of the police is to arrest. The role of the judges is to try. The role of the society is to see that justice is done. But the role of religion is to forgive. We must all uphold the roles that we will play in our lives. It's very important that you forgive, you give. If these things are held close to our heart, we will never find anything going wrong. So lastly, if you can help, and if you don't, it's a sin. If you can help somebody, please go out and help. That helping nature will bring so much satisfaction to your heart that you will never be able to get that from anywhere. So as we move ahead, I want to tell you the last idea, that there is an invisible world of your emotions, values that control your outer world. Without ethics, even the most successful people have suffered and it has caught up. With ethics, you don't need anything of this world to bolster you up. You are a strong person who has full faith. So faith in God, as Gandhi used to say, he said, I would have been a lunatic long ago without my regular prayers. So faith in God ultimately balances things out in a different way. You may not understand it, but accept it. I can't logically explain to you. Newton, once in his lab, he had created a model of the entire universe. The planets, the moons, everything was spinning in perfect proportion in timing. And all his students like you, they had gathered and they were looking as, Mr. Ravindranji has called the spiritual session. So Newton was showing them, and all the students were so flabbergasted. They said, "Sir, this is exactly like the moon, exactly like Mars, exactly like Pluto. Everything is in perfect harmony." And they said, "Sir, who made this?" Newton smiled and said, "Nobody." He said, "No, but sir, come on. Who made this? So perfect, so in order." Newton said, "Really, nobody." He said, "Oh, no, sir, but who made this?" Then Newton said, "Even for just a model, you are not ready to believe that there could not be a maker. What about the real thing? Why do you so easily believe there could not be a maker? Even for a model, a maker is necessary. Then for the real universe," he said, "have faith." Heisenberg, the father of subatomic physics, you've heard about him, read about him, who invented the law of uncertainties. He writes that when you take the first gulp of water from the glass of natural sciences, when you take the first gulp of water from the glass of natural sciences, you become an atheist. You think, "I know how the world works." But by the time you have the last gulp, you find God waiting for you. You become a theist. This is no ordinary scientist. They are scientists who have gone deep into the natural science. They talk about faith. So accept. What Einstein did, before Einstein, there was a huge problem. What? That, light never varied. The speed of light never varied. Okay? That, if two things are moving across, relative speed varies. 400 and 200, then you get a relative speed of 600. But if they're on the same, then you have a relative speed of 200. But with light, whether you're moving towards light or going away from light, the speed never varied. All the scientists before Einstein spent their brains, wrecked their internal memory, trying to find a solution to this amazing problem, why the speed of light never changed. Why the speed of light never changed. You know what Einstein did? He said, "Fine, the speed of light never changes." He made the problem into the principle and he gave us E equals mc squared. So, if God is a problem for you, make him your principle. Accept him. Accept the situation, whoever you believe in, on a higher force. He will help you. The principle will help you change the nature of the universe. Because so many things in life you accept without questioning. I'll leave you with this thought. You keep telling me that, "Swami, I only accept things that I believe in, or I accept, or my intellect accepts. If I can't see it, I can't believe. If my intellect doesn't accept, I won't accept it." I want to ask you a couple of questions, very simple. There are so many things in your life you didn't choose, but you still accept. Did you choose to be a boy or a girl? Did you choose? You accept it, right? I hope you do. Very important. Okay, very important, alright. So, some of the most basic things you didn't choose. Did you choose your parents? Think about it when you go home as well. Did your parents choose you? Did you choose your brothers or sisters? Yes, you chose your wife, but what about her relatives? Did you choose them? They come as a package deal. Very difficult to move away from a world where you think you have choices, but you don't. You really don't. Did you choose your name? Is somebody who gave it to you, you were not in control? Did you choose your height? Many of us are not happy with our height when it comes down to the basketball games. Did you choose the color of your skin? Most of Indians are not happy with the color of their skin. But that's what we have. We didn't choose the color of our skin. Have you chosen your intellect? You can't be proud to say you are in the I am because you're intelligent. You didn't choose your intelligence. You were blessed with it. If you chose it, okay, then how come your parents didn't have all your children going to I am? You didn't choose. There are so many things that you can't choose and you won't be able to choose. and you have accepted all these things that you didn't choose, I am just asking you to accept one, that is God, and you don't have to choose anything else for the rest of your life. If you have that faith inside you, that faith is always going to bring you out from a deeper crisis, if ever it happens, and put you back into your place. Brahmavihari Swami often says this, and this last incident will always help you. Once there was a little boy. He was standing on the shores of the sea. He kept saying that one day when I grow up, I'm going to master the ocean, conquer it. I'll get into a ship and go into the middle of the ocean, and nothing will defeat me. I'll conquer the ocean. So one day there was a small canoe. The little boy got into the canoe and started paddling. Now imagine the waves at the shore are small. The more deeper you go in, the waves become bigger and bigger. The fish on the shore are small. The deeper you go into the sea, it becomes bigger and bigger. The wind is less, in the middle is deeper and bigger and bigger. The boy went onto the canoe and is going into the middle of the ocean, and he's shouting to the world that when I go down, I'm going to shout to the world that one little boy has conquered the ocean. Suddenly a huge wave came, and the boat capsized. As the boat was sinking, as the boy was drowning, he hit the seabed right at the bottom of the sea. Even there the boy said, I'm still going to tell the world that this little boy conquered the ocean. Why? Such a huge sea could not keep a little boy on his chest. Here I am, a little boy keeping the entire sea on my chest. If you have faith, even the most negative things will become the most positive for you. And we have understood, even after the attack on Gandhinagar Akshardham, because we were not moved because of our faith, Pramukh Swami Maharaj was able to construct another Akshardham in New Delhi, which has been termed as one of the greatest monuments that India has ever created, because of faith. And today, I also want to make a very simple announcement which has not been announced anywhere in India and only in IIM. Just a week back, we have cleared all legal permissions, all systems, and all approvals in USA for creating another beautiful cultural exhibition and Akshardham in New Jersey in 160 acres just yesterday, and we are making an announcement here, which is also very important. That if you have faith, if you have a purity of purpose, you will never find anything going wrong. So, as I conclude, please spend time for your inner self. Remember, the best of us are worst of us without ethics. With ethics and a strong internal makeup, nothing will be able to shake you. And this great faith in God will always come to your rescue wherever you are. If Gandhi needed it, Lincoln needed it, Eisenberg needed it, I think we are not such big people to ignore our surroundings. And lastly, a simple advice as to all the people who are here, and it's just a simple advice that the world is waiting for you, wanting you as young leaders. Go out there and become best professionals. I don't want you all of that go down and become sadhus and just holding maras. Go out and become best professionals, but also the finest of human beings. Do not compete with your environment, complete it. There are two types of leaders, those who compete and those who complete. Give something to it, to complete it. So do not fly too high to lose focus on the family that raised you. Do not become too busy for the friends who made you. Do not become too wise for your teachers who taught you. And do not become too proud for helping people around you. And finally, for God's sake, do not become too big to forget God who protects you. Thank you very much.
The normal practice here at the conclusion of a talk by the guest speaker is to highlight the main points. But there are times when we don't need any intermediaries between the speaker and the persons listening. All of us have received profound thoughts, profound wisdom in the most simplest of words. So I'm thankful on behalf of myself and also on behalf of Indore and all of our student community, faculty and our director, to Swamiji for having come here and for having given a talk that is going to be the beacon for the next 2 years for these students and for the remaining years for us, for each one of us here. So it is something which we need to internalize, which we need to introspect upon, which we need to think about. It's not something that which we can by heart and write an exam paper and get some marks or evaluation, but it's something more deeper which goes to the heart of the matter. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Now, as a token of our gratitude, I request Professor Ravichandran to please hand over a small memento.
Oh yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Do you have any questions?
Okay. Well, actually, this session should be scheduled for probably half a day. I think somewhere down the line, Swamiji was far more affectionate, and when that happens, time becomes relatively less important. And we are a little behind the schedule. Therefore, much against my wish, we have to skip the question and answer session. I personally think and pray that this is not the first visit. This is certainly the first visit of Swamiji, and I certainly hope there will be several such visits as we go along, from either by Swami Brahmavihari himself or people of similar kind. Because we need to discuss these things, we need to understand them. Listening once may not necessarily bring the conviction that we need inside. But constant exposure to this, constant chintan about this would possibly make us get convinced and probably change the direction and the course in which we work and operate. Therefore, unfortunately today we are not able to provide you the space where you can discuss these ideas and thoughts, and also the advice and the wisdom. We will break for a cup of tea and we'll come back. There's a bit of a change in the schedule. Earlier, Mr. Damodar was to speak, followed by Murali. Now, possibly we have to swap this because Mr. Damodar is getting a little delayed. And if it's okay with Murali, we'll start with Murali and then Damodar.